Before she spoke, the world had already decided what she was. A fallen pop princess, a tabloid obsession, a cautionary tale. But behind the headlines, Britney Spears was living in a cage. One that glittered with fame, yet locked her away from herself. For over a decade, she was one of the most controlled women in Hollywood. Every move monitored, every word filtered, every emotion repackaged. For an audience that both adored and devoured her. We saw the breakdowns, the shaved head, the umbrella. But we didn't see the truth. That her silence wasn't madness. It was survival. When Britney finally found her voice again, the world was stunned by what she revealed. The life we thought we knew, the concerts, the smiles, the Las Vegas lights, was built on something darker. What looked like freedom was, in fact, a performance directed by those who profited most from her pain. This is not just a story about a pop star. It's a story about power and how easily it can disguise itself as love. It's about how the industry that made her also destroyed her, and how her fight to reclaim her voice exposed one of Hollywood's most disturbing secrets. Because when Britney finally broke the silence, she didn't just free herself. She forced an entire system to look in the mirror. Tonight, we uncover what really happened behind the stage lights, and what it truly cost her to be free. It began in the late 1990s, the golden era of pop. The airwaves were saturated with bubblegum hits, polished smiles, and MTV countdowns. Among the stars who emerged, one name shone brighter than all: Britney Spears. She was only 16 when her first single, Baby One More Time, exploded across the world. Her voice, soft yet commanding, carried the innocence of a small-town girl from Kentwood, Louisiana, and the magnetism of a born performer. But what no one saw was the machinery behind the glitter. Every note, every appearance, every headline was meticulously designed by an industry that had learned how to create and consume its idols. Britney wasn't just a singer. She was a product, branded for perfection. Her youth became her image, her purity her selling point, and her mistakes the price of fame. As her fame grew, so did the pressure. She became the face of teenage desire and purity all at once, an impossible contradiction that the media weaponized. Every outfit, every interview, every glance was dissected. And when she faltered, the cameras didn't turn away. They zoomed in. Hollywood and the press fed off her story, crafting a modern myth of rise and fall. The girl next door turned global icon. The sweetheart turned scandal. The innocent turned wild. Yet behind this transformation was something no one wanted to talk about: a system that thrived on exploitation, not protection. By the early 2000s, Britney was no longer just a performer. She was a battlefield between image and identity, control and chaos, fame and freedom. And as the world cheered her success, she began to disappear inside the very empire she built. Because in Hollywood, the show must always go on, even when the star can barely stand. At the beginning, Britney Spears was unstoppable. Her debut album sold millions, her music videos defined a generation, and her name alone could fill arenas across continents. She was the embodiment of late 90s pop, vibrant, youthful, electric. But behind the dazzling performances and rehearsed perfection, the cracks were already beginning to show. Fame at that level is not a dream, it's a storm. Everywhere she went, the flashes followed. Her first heartbreaks, her friendships, her family, all became public property. When she started dating Justin Timberlake, the media crowned them pop's golden couple. But when they broke up, the narrative turned cruel. He became the hero, she the villain. Every word she said was twisted into a headline. Every smile became a performance. Britney was trying to live like any young woman in her 20s, but unlike anyone else, she was being hunted. Paparazzi chased her down streets, camped outside her home, and shouted insults just to provoke a reaction worth selling. And when she finally cracked, the world applauded. The 2007 breakdown, the shaved head, the umbrella attack became global entertainment, but few asked why. Few wondered what happens when a person is pushed beyond human limits. Behind the scenes, Her family and management were scrambling for control. Her father, Jamie Spears, petitioned for conservatorship, a legal arrangement designed for the elderly or mentally incapacitated, and in 2008, he got it. Overnight, Britney lost her rights to her money, her decisions, even her body. Still, the show went on. She released albums, went on tours, headlined Las Vegas residencies, all under the control of those who claimed to protect her. To the public, she was back. But inside, she was trapped in a gilded cage, smiling on stage while her life was being dictated behind closed doors. The rise of Britney Spears was never just a story of success. It was a story of control, of how a young woman's light became the fuel for an empire, and how that empire decided when she could shine and when she could break. For 13 years, the world watched Britney Spears perform as if nothing was wrong. She smiled through interviews, waved at fans, danced under blinding lights. But behind those rehearsed movements, there was silence. A silence carefully maintained by contracts, legal threats, and fear. In 2021, that silence shattered. When Britney spoke in court for the first time, her voice trembled, but her words burned. She described her life not as that of a star, but as that of a prisoner. "I've been traumatized," she said. "I just want my life back." The details were horrifying. She revealed she was forced to take medication she didn't want, forbidden from removing her birth control, and made to perform even when she begged for rest. Every aspect of her existence, from her finances to her friendships, was controlled by a network built around her father. The conservatorship wasn't just about protecting her. It was about profit. Behind the glossy PR and choreographed smiles, a multi-million-dollar industry was thriving off her captivity. Lawyers, managers, even her own family benefited from her labor, while she was denied the right to make a single personal decision. As Britney's testimony spread, the world's perception shifted overnight. The crazy pop star narrative collapsed, replaced by something darker. A woman systematically silenced by those who claimed to love her. Fans who had long suspected the truth, the #FreeBritney movement, were finally vindicated. Their voices, dismissed for years as conspiracy, had uncovered one of Hollywood's most disturbing realities. The media scrambled to rewrite history. The same outlets that mocked her breakdown now called it a cry for help. But it was too late. The damage had been done. The world had consumed her pain for entertainment, and now had to face its reflection. When the court finally dissolved the conservatorship, Britney was free legally. But emotionally, she was still haunted. The scars of being silenced, manipulated, and performed through pain cannot be erased by a single ruling. Because what Britney lost wasn't just her freedom. It was her youth, her trust, her faith in a world that once promised her everything. And for the first time, the pop industry had to confront a chilling question. How many other perfect performances were built on quiet suffering? When the court finally ended the conservatorship, the headlines declared victory. "Britney is free," they wrote, as if freedom were something that could be restored with a judge's pen. But freedom, in Britney's case, was never that simple. It wasn't just about control over money or career. It was about reclaiming her humanity after being reduced to a symbol, a spectacle, and a source of profit. At Legends and Secrets, we don't see Britney Spears as a tragedy. We see her as a mirror reflecting everything that's wrong with fame, power, and the culture that feeds on vulnerability. Her story forces us to question the price of entertainment. How far are we willing to go to watch someone shine, even as they burn? For years, the media dissected her pain for clicks. Late-night hosts mocked her breakdown. Tabloids built fortunes from her humiliation. And the public, all of us, consumed it. We didn't just watch Britney fall, we made it a spectacle. And in doing so, we became complicit in the machine that crushed her. But Britney's story is also one of defiance. Despite everything, the manipulation, the silence, the betrayal, she still found the courage to speak. She faced the system that silenced her, and she told the world the truth. That takes more strength than any performance ever could. Now, as she rebuilds her life, the world watches again, but this time it must learn to listen. to see her not as an icon or a cautionary tale, but as a person who survived what many couldn't. Because Britney's story isn't just hers. It's a warning about how power can disguise itself as love, and how easily a voice can be stolen when fame becomes a cage. So, we ask you, when you look back at Britney Spears, what do you see? A pop princess who fell from grace? Or a woman who finally dared to take her story back? There's a haunting quiet that follows every performance. When the lights dim, the music fades, and the applause becomes only an echo. For Britney Spears, that silence once meant peace. Then it became her prison. And now, perhaps, it's finally her freedom. Today, she stands not as the girl who sang, "Baby One More Time," but as a woman who survived what the world could never fully understand. The innocence we once saw in her eyes has changed, but it hasn't disappeared. It's older now, wiser, carrying the weight of a life lived under 1,000 spotlights and 1,000 lies. Hollywood has a strange way of forgetting. It celebrates the comeback, but rarely apologizes for the damage done. It rebuilds idols from their ashes, without ever asking who set the fire. And somewhere, amid the endless noise of fame, Britney's voice, trembling but true, still asks the same question. Was it ever worth it? Maybe her story will remind us that freedom isn't found in applause, or in perfection, or even in success. It's found in the quiet, in the right to live, love, and speak without permission. And as the curtains fall on this chapter of her life, we are left with the image of a woman walking into the sunlight, barefoot, unguarded, unfiltered, not the pop star the world created, but the person she always was. Some stories are told for entertainment. This one should be remembered for its truth, because behind every dazzling stage, there's a heart that beats in silence, waiting to be heard. Some stories are never revealed, but now you know.